Okay, and then we can post also for picture also afterwards. 大家我们先照相还是之后再照？先照相。They request a picture, prior picture in advance. Is that okay? We do a picture for them first? Yeah? Okay, let's do a picture together. Also inviting Ambassador Rimas with us. Yes? And also, yeah, Oriana, Miss Elisa, you want to, how about we do a group picture and then we can see it and then you can take our time for the press conference. How about that? Yeah, 我们一起这样 let's stand together. Yeah, let's come from. Yeah, we're all together here with Ambassador Rimas. Yeah. 大谁我来中间，你来中间。Yes, we're here. Charmy. Yes, we're here. Yes, okay. So, okay, how about this? How about thumbs up? Yes, thumbs up. Yes. And yes. Okay, so let's look in the front. Let's look on this side. So we can get all the shots. Here on our right. Yeah, and let's on the left here. Okay, on the floor. Okay. Yeah, on the center? Okay. On the center, yes. Okay, 好，谢谢 Thank you. Now we can be seated. Thank you, Ambassador Rimas. Okay. Okay, hello. So we can get started. Okay, let's welcome, ladies and gentlemen, our friends of the press, to this international press conference with the Swedish and the European Parliament delegation. And so I'll be introducing very quickly all our important guests I have here with me and also in the audience. 各位女士、各位先生，欢迎大家来到这个瑞典国会议员还有欧洲议会议员的一个联合访问团的一个国际记者会。那让我先介绍一下我跟我在一起的这些几位的贵宾，这些议员，还有我们在座的很重要的这个我们的这个贵宾哦。我们首先来介绍我们的两位的团长，好吧？我们这一次由我们台湾瑞典国会议员协会有台主席的这个主席欧伯利议员 ，The Honorable Boriana Albert. She's the chair of the Swedish Taiwanese Parliamentarian Association. We have here Boriana on my side, my right hand side. Yes, hello. And also another head of the delegation here with me as well, the Honorable Charlie Wimmers. He is the member of the European Parliament here with me. 我们瑞典籍的欧洲议会的这个魏莫斯议员哦，他也是团长。所以我们这一次有两位的这个团长。那让我也这个介绍一下，我们还有很重要的这个团长，包括我们瑞典国会的这个副议长哦，吕谢婷议员 ，The Honorable Christine Lundgren. She's Deputy Speaker of the Swedish Parliament. Also here on my right hand side also, the Honorable Björn Söder. He is member of the Swedish Parliament. 瑞典国会的谢碧阳议员。OK， 接下来我们后面还有，因为人很多，我们就请他们坐到后面啊。但还有我们瑞典国会的这个艾勒斯议员 ，The Honorable Lars Christensen, member of the Swedish Parliament here. Very distinguished member of the Parliament also. And 我们还有瑞典国会的魏马可议员 ，The Honorable Markus Wicher. He is member of the Swedish Parliament here.Yeah, Marcus. Yeah, he is Marcus. OK， 魏马可议员啊。然后接下来我们还有这个瑞典的国会的艾索菲议员 ，The Honorable Anne Sophie Alm. She is member also of the Swedish Parliament. 还有我们瑞典国会的普拉斯议员 ，The Honorable Lars Puus. He is a member also of the Swedish Parliament. 还有我们瑞典国会的柯艾森议员 ，The Honorable Alexander Christensen. He is member also of the Swedish Parliament. Very welcome all to you to Taiwan. Some of them their first time, and also they are visiting here. So also it's also important to acknowledge the presence of very distinguished with us. 我们今天还有我们这个外交部欧洲司的司长陈立国陈大使 ，Ambassador Rimas Chen, Director General of the European Affairs of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs， 还有另外我们访团很重要的这个古利斯顾问 Miss Elise Collingham， she's a Senior Policy Advisor of the European Parliament。 Okay, so having already acknowledged all our VIPs here, so allow me to invite each one of them to make their remarks, and then we'll be opening the questions about that, okay? 我们先请他们来个别致辞。那么首先请我们的这个台湾瑞典的这个协会的这个欧伯利主席来致辞。First, I would like to welcome Chair Albert Borriana to address the audience.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am overwhelmed by this great attention for our visit. As you know, we represent the Swedish Taiwanese Parliamentarian Association in Swedish Riksdag, and the purpose of our visit is to show our support for Taiwan and learn a little bit more about your country, about our common challenges in a changing world. And we have had a lot of very interesting meetings, and we appreciate a lot our colleagues here, all the politicians, ministers, the president of executive yuan, the president of legislative yuan, and the president's willingness to meet us and share their experience. It has been very, very fruitful trip, and we will be happy to return again to Taiwan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we need translation for that great statement. 嘉豪 please.
各位先生、各位女士，这一次大家这么大阵仗，我真是受宠若惊。这次我们访台，我们仅代表台湾瑞典国会议员协会。这次访台的目的是要表达对台湾的支持，进一步认识台湾，以及了解台湾跟瑞典共同的挑战。这次此行呢，有非常多有趣的会议跟交流，要特别感谢跟我们见面的许多的同事们、长官们等，以及许多的贵宾们，包括蔡总统、尤院长、苏院长，还有许多的部长们。这次的访台行程成果丰硕，我们期待再次访台。
Thank you very much. And next, I would like to invite the Honorable Charlie Wimmer. Charlie Wimmer, he is the member of European Parliament to address the audience. Charlie.
Thank you so much, Joanne. It's a great honor to be here in Taiwan. I have long anticipated this visit, and I want to tell you how happy I am for the heartwarming reception of the Taiwanese government, of the legislative yuan, and of everyone who have been part in organizing this trip. So a big thank you to the Taiwanese people for the friendship you have shown us, and I will do my utmost in Brussels to reciprocate that. Now, one big thing that struck me during this trip has been the Taiwanese love for food. And I'm very happy to hear that IKEA meatballs are a big thing here. But I do have a secret to share. My homemade meatballs are twice as good. So make sure you come and visit, and I will offer you them. So I will leave other responses to other questions. But once again, thank you. I think this trip shows that Sweden and Europe stand with Ukraine and stand with Taiwan. It belongs together. It's part of the same geopolitical challenge that we face, and let's continue to work together in favor of the rules-based world order.
Thank you so very much, MP Wimmers. And we also need translation. Thank you.
谢谢大家，非常荣幸能够有机会此次访台，要特别感谢台湾的政府以及立法院对我们热情的款待，以及所有相关的单位对我们此行程的规划，我们感到非常的开心。同时也要感谢台湾人民对我们展现的热情，尤其是台湾对于台瑞友谊的表现。对于这份友谊，我回到布鲁塞尔之后一定会积极的回应。那这一次印象特别深刻的是台湾对于美食的热爱，尤其在台湾也有机会吃到宜家家具的瑞典肉丸。那必须要跟大家说个秘密，就是我们自家制作的家乡味的肉丸呢，其实是双倍好吃的。所以大家如果有机会到台湾的话，希望有机会可以款待大家。那么这一次的访问呢，也要特别彰显瑞典呢是跟乌克兰站在一起，也跟台湾站在一起的。因为瑞典、乌克兰跟台湾大家都共处同样的地缘政治的挑战。那在这样子的挑战之下，我们一定要团结一致，来共同维护以规则为基础的国际秩序。
Thank you very much. And next, I would like to invite Deputy Speaker Christine Lundgren to deliver her address.
Well, thank you very much. And yes, I am actually Deputy Speaker of the Swedish Riksdag, but I'm here representing my party, the Centre Party, and I'm the spokesperson on foreign affairs for my party. And I'm part of this delegation as just spokesperson for my party. The Green Liberal Party, the Centre Party, is in the family of Liberal International, as is DPP here in Taiwan. And I'm coming to Taiwan, and I have received a great hospitality and good meetings, good thoughts, good food for thoughts as well, not only for my body. And thank you for that. Coming from Sweden, a small country, far north, a small country with the same colors in our national flag as Ukraine. We are really touched by the support from Taiwan to Ukraine, and your strong stance on sanctions. And we have a big neighbor, authoritarian, dictatorship, and you have a big neighbor, look-alike. So for me, it's important that we as democracies stick together to fight against those authoritarian forces that we can see gaining terrain quite a lot since 10-15 years ago. And I thank the people of Taiwan for standing strong for democracy, freedom, and human rights. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We need definite translation for that excellent remark. Thank you. 家豪。
虽然说我这一次此行有副议长的头衔，但是我实际上在瑞典团的身份呢，主要是瑞典中央党的外交发言人。那这一次的访台，我接收到非常多热情的款待，当中有非常多精彩的行程以及非常美味的美食。我们瑞典作为一个欧洲小国家，我们的国旗的色系刚好也是蓝色与黄色，跟乌克兰相同。因此，对于台湾对乌克兰大力的支持，我们感到十分的感动，同时也乐见台湾对于俄罗斯坚定的制裁。那瑞典跟台湾都是面对独裁国家邻居的挑战的国家，所以我们作为民主国家，更要团结一致来共同对抗威权的扩张。此行也要特别感谢台湾的人民对于许多的价值，诸如民主、自由跟人权等价值方面的努力。
Thank you very much. And next, I would like to invite Parliamentarian Bjorn Soder to speak.
Thank you very much, and thank you so much for your hospitality and friendship. This is my first time here in Taiwan, certainly not the last time, I will say. I'm really glad that this trip and visit could take place due to these circumstances we're facing right now with the pandemic. So I'm very happy to be here. And I have also improved my knowledge about Taiwan and the situation here. which is very useful for the continuing work in the Swedish Parliament to support Taiwan in every matter. So thank you once again for your hospitality and friendship. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Your Honorable. And we need translation for that. Thank you, 嘉豪。
好，非常感谢此次访问台湾所受到的许多热情款待以及友谊的表现。这次是我的第一次的访问，那当然一定会有下一次的，也非常高兴能够在这样子非常诡谲的国际的局势，以及在疫情当中仍然有这个机会能够访问台湾。此次访问台湾，能够对台湾有进一步的认识，对台湾的认识也对于在瑞典国会内部挺台的许多相关的工作也有莫大的帮助。那再次感谢大家对我们的友谊的表现，谢谢大家。
Thank you. And next, I will give the floor to Parliamentarian Lars Alektassen for his remarks.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. It's always interesting and encouraging to visit well-functioning democracies and meet with friends, dear friends. And that's what we have done for over the last 4 days. It has been a tremendous visit, and I can just subscribe to my colleagues when it comes to the generosity and hospitality that we have met. It has been a true, real experience, positive experience, and I really want to forward a thank you to our hosts for having us. It is important, even if we remind ourselves about the importance of democracy. It's important to emphasize on the need for protecting democracy, human rights, human dignity, freedom of press, and all these aspects of democracy that we cherish and that we share with each other as countries. And I would say that this trip has been a manifestation for democracy and a opportunity to develop our contacts, develop our relations, and further strengthen our bonds between Taiwan and Sweden. So I really appreciated these days and this visit, and look forward to come back as soon as possible. Thank you.
Yes, and look forward to having you, Lars. Okay, thanks for that great statement and translation, 嘉豪. Thank you.
这一次的访问台湾尤其是访问像台湾这样子的一个繁荣民主的国家，然后又见到了许多热爱民主的朋友，我感到十分的高兴，也受到诸多的启发。过去4天以来，行程精彩，接见的无论是什么样各级的长官或者是贵宾呢，对我们都展现非常多的热情跟款待，所以要特别感谢地主国。好的，那此次访问呢，也特别感受到民主的重要，尤其是要强调我们共同去维护我们所珍视的许多的价值，诸如民主、人权、人的尊严、人民的尊严，还有媒体的自由等其他的民主面向。所以呢，这一次的访问台湾可谓是一趟民主之旅。那此行呢，也深化了许多跟台湾的政界以及商界许多的互动、互相的认识，更进一步深化了台瑞关系。期待再次访台。
Thank you very much. And next, I would like to invite Parliamentarian Markus Switcher for his remarks. It is on.
Okay. Thank you very much. First of all, dear friends, I'm honored to be here, and I'm honored to be able to have this visit. I've learned so much during these days, and I'm deeply grateful for the hospitality that our hosts and the Taiwanese people have shown us. This is truly a trip that I will remember for the rest of my life, and it might be my first time in Taiwan, but it's certainly not my last. I'll definitely be back here. And I can promise you all that I will do what I can in the Swedish Parliament, in the Foreign Affairs Committee, and in the Council of Europe to strengthen the ties between Taiwan and Sweden. Taiwan is a successful country, and I'm sure that we can learn so much from each other. And I'm sure that Taiwan should be recognized more than today as a country. So, dear friends, I look forward to my next visit here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and we look forward to having you again. We need translation for that. Thank you.
非常荣幸这一次能够成功的来到台湾访问，这次学到非常多，也非常感谢台湾的政府以及人民热情的款待。这次访问呢，我永生难忘，是第一次来，绝对不是最后一次，还会再来的。那我回到欧洲之后，回到瑞典之后，无论是在瑞典的国会，还是在欧盟理事会，我都会致力于去促进台湾跟瑞典的关系深化。台湾这个国家成就非凡，台湾跟瑞典绝对能够更多的相互学习，而且台湾应受到列邦公认，期待再次访问台湾。
Thank you very much. And now I would like to also welcome Parliamentarian Unarmed to address the audience.
Thank you so much, Joanne, and thank you so much for showing up to this press conference, everybody. The thing that has struck me the most by coming here to Taiwan is it's the great love that we have been receiving in every visit where we have come from, Madam President, and everywhere where we have been. And that is really a heartfelt welcome that we have had. It's beautiful, really beautiful. And even though we come from the other side of the earth, we share the same values with the Taiwanese people. We fight for democracy together with you. We stand up for the freedom and for the love for freedom with you. And it's actually in these times when Russia is invading Ukraine, it's a brutal war going on there. It's even more important than that we stand up for democracy and stand up for Taiwan. And yep, I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very touching. We'll definitely translation. 家好 Thank you.
执行长，还有各位媒体朋友，非常感谢前来参加记者会。这次印象最深刻的就是我们所到之处，任何地方所受到的热爱都令我印象深刻。那我相信这样子的欢迎算是最热烈的一种。我们虽然来自地球的另外一端，但是我们跟台湾呢有共享的价值，共同奋斗，努力一起起身捍卫我们的价值。尤其是在这个时候，俄罗斯这么残酷的入侵乌克兰，就是在这种时候，我们更应该去彰显、加强对我们台湾的支持，以及对民主的支持。谢谢。
Thank you very much. And next, I would like to invite Parliamentarian Lars Poos for his remarks.
Thank you, Joanne. I represent the Moderate Party, one of 8 parties. And here today there are several other parties, but I can say that everything that my colleagues here has said, I agree with to 100%. We're all have the same view when it comes to being friends of Taiwan. And just as Anne-Sophie said, the war in Ukraine and aggression from Russia proves the necessity for us as democracy to stand up together and show each other support. And even though it's my first trip here, and I'm so impressed with the warm welcome that you've shown us, and it's sad that democracies and the right to freedom and freedom of speech and human rights has to be fought for every day, when, in my view, that should be the natural way to run things. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Lars. So true to what you said. In translation for that, 家好 please.
大家好，我这次在瑞典团代表温和党，那是瑞典国会众多政党之一。虽然我们政党众多，但是我们 刚刚许多同事们讲的话呢，我是100%同意的，因为无论是哪一个政党，对于支持台湾跟台湾友好这件事情，我们立场一致。尤其在俄罗斯入侵乌克兰的期间，更彰显了民主国家互相支持的必要性。这次是初次访台，但是台湾给我的热情，我永生难忘。那这次访台，我也是深深的感受到。就是我们原本觉得说许多的自由权，包括人权啦，还有言论自由等，我们觉得理所当然的事情，现在是我们必须要起身奋斗去捍卫的事情。谢谢大家。
Thank you very much. Last but not least, I'm very pleased to invite Parliamentarian Alexander Christensen to address the audience.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Together with Mr. Weimers and Mr. Söder and Mr. Wiechel, I am representing the Sweden Democrat in the Swedish Parliament. The most important thing for me, why I wanted to join this delegation to Taiwan, was to make a stand for freedom and democracy and truth. I think that's very important to do, especially when we see a lot of darkness in the world and when we see dark powers that are challenging the free world, then it's extra important to make that stand. And I guess I would just like to say that during this trip, I really learned to love Taiwan. It's a beautiful country. It's with beautiful nature and beautiful people and a beautiful culture. And it's such a great honor to be able to be here with you and to take this stand for freedom in Taiwan. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Definitely we need translation for the important remarks. Thanks.
大家好。此次访问台湾呢，我跟谢碧阳议员跟魏马可议员等，我们都是在这个访问团当中代表瑞典民主党的。那么这次访问台湾呢，能够跟着大家一起来捍卫所谓大家所珍惜的自由民主以及所谓的真实。那这个时代当中，我们有看到许多角落的黑暗面，这些黑暗面来自威权的黑暗等等，都再次的挑战我们自由世界的诸多的价值。就是在这种黑暗的时候，我们更应该要坚定的捍卫跟守护我们的价值。这次访问台湾，使我爱上台湾，尤其是台湾的美丽的自然风景以及人文。那么也非常高兴能够在这次的旅程当中进一步的去支持台湾，谢谢大家。
Thank you very much. And now the moment you are being awaiting, we're taking questions from the audience. We already received the questions you already submitted. I have 4 pages here. So in order to organize the time, I'm going to read the questions for you, okay? 就大家问题我们都收到了，所以我们现在我就是先依惯例我把它分类，然后把它念一下，那大家可以随时再提出补充你们的问题。So we divided by categories that we always do. I have the first large group about the purpose of visit here into Taiwan, and also another group, we'll do all this together to save time. Also Taiwan and Sweden relationship and Taiwan-EU relationship. Okay, let's do this first group all together. I'll read your questions. The first one we received from 美联社 AP American Press from Dai Jingwu, and so he's asking please whether you can share with us about the purpose of your visit to Taiwan. Regarding Taiwan-EU relations and Taiwan-Sweden relations, well, I have questions from Taiwan News, Kevin Chen. Kevin is asking, what are some of the substantial actions, in your opinion, that Sweden can take to booster ties with Taiwan and also to strengthen Taiwan-EU relations? Taiwan News 在问瑞典怎么样强化台湾跟瑞典还有台湾跟欧盟的关系。Also, I received question from Epoch Times from 新怡大纪元新怡提问。This is especially addressed to EMP Charlie Wimmers. He said that you mentioned previously, okay, let me see that here, that Taiwan-European Union should develop a no-limits partnership and that with China supporting Russia, the EU should help bolster Taiwan's self-defense capabilities. Furthermore, last year, the EU referred to Taiwan in its EU strategy for cooperation in the Indo-Pacific, and the European Parliament passed also the EU-Taiwan political relations relations and cooperation report. In concrete terms, how will the European Union help Taiwan in terms of its self-defense capabilities? 大纪元心仪提问，这是对这个我们的团长莫卫斯团长，还有提到欧盟跟台湾应该发展无上限的友好关系。中国支持2国1分的话，那欧洲就应该要加倍的来强化台湾的防卫的能力。欧盟去年首度将台湾纳入欧盟的印太战略合作战略，以及欧洲议会更提出欧台的合作报告。具体来讲，心仪想请问欧盟如何帮助台湾自我防卫？ Okay, so we take these 3 questions from this category first. I don't know whether Boriana, Charlie, or any other member you would like to answer. Yes? Yeah? Oh, you have your microphone there? Yes, okay, thank you.
So I will answer 2 of the questions. The first one, the purpose of the visit is very clear. It's to send a signal of support from Europe to Taiwan, and to make sure that signal is being heard all across the Taiwan Strait. Because that serves, as a matter of fact, as a big deterrence factor. The fact that Beijing knows that we, over in Europe, we know Taiwan and we care for Taiwan.
Okay, we need translation. Yeah, thank you so much.
我先回答2题，其中第1题，此行的目的就是要发出欧洲支持台湾的讯号，而且这样的讯号呢，必须要在两岸海峡两岸呢都能够感受得到。像这样子的讯号呢，本身是一种嚇阻，就是要让北京知道说，欧洲不但了解台湾，而且还关心台湾。
To respond to the second question, or third, as a matter of fact, what can the EU do concretely to support Taiwanese self-defense capabilities? Well, I think that the war in Ukraine has shown the need for the stockpiling of defensive weapons. I happen to come from the county of Värmland in Sweden, where Bofors is located, which is the producer of the N-Law, which I'm very proud of. And I think that Europe should come together and work with the United States to enable the Taiwanese people to make itself ready for a potential aggression. I really do think so. But it is up to the member states of the European Union to decide that. The EU foreign policy is decided by the member states. And the first thing we need to do is to make the member states of Europe realize what is at stake, all the member states, and that Taiwan and Ukraine is, albeit different in some aspects, also similar in many aspects. I think also that the fact that Europe is now stepping up its own defense capabilities, Germany being in the forefront of that, but Sweden as well, is very important news for Taiwan. Why? Well, because this enables the United States to play an even stronger role here in the Indo-Pacific. So to work together with the United States here and there is one of the main, should be one of the main goals of the European Union.
Thank you very much. Very important. Jiahao, please. Yes, translation.
下一个问题就是欧洲如何支持台湾的自我防卫能力。好，这一点呢，我们要先从乌克兰的情势，因为这个情势告诉我们，其实国防整备真的非常的重要。那基本上欧洲呢，在我心目中必须要加强跟美国的合作，使台湾的人民能够做好任何入侵武力侵犯的准备。但是欧洲的外交政策呢，基本上是由欧盟的各会员国共同决定的，所以当务之急就是要让全体的会员国都知道哪些事情有利害关系，有优先的顺序。虽然说不同会员国意见不尽相同，但是其实相似点也挺多的。 再来就是欧洲整体上的自我防卫能力也要进一步提升。事实上，德国非常努力在做这件事情，而我们瑞典呢也不落人后。那欧洲的自我防卫其实对美国来讲，他们对美国也能够帮助他们说，能够让他们加强在印太地区当中的许多的作为。因此呢，进一步加强欧洲跟美国在欧洲的合作，以及在印太地区的合作都相当的重要，必须要并驾齐驱。
Thank you very much, Charlie. I know Deputy Speaker also would like to respond. Yeah.
Well, actually, I responded on the first question more or less before in my statement. Perhaps I should also tell that when the speaker received a letter from the embassy of China telling that I shouldn't go, of course, that was also something telling me I need to go, no matter what is the circumstances with COVID or whatever. But that is my personal reason. I would like to answer a little bit more about this, what could be done together, because I heard about the will from Taiwan to move forward on climate change, on renewables, high tech and so on, and I think there are good opportunities for cooperation, and we have done that before, and I think we can do it again. That is also one thing I will bring back to my colleagues in the Riksdag. The other thing I would like to mention is dealing with Ukraine, or question of Ukraine, because I also think that we have seen, and I think your big neighbor has seen as well, the will to stick together and take strong decisions on sanctions against Russia when they are attacking brutally a neighbor. And that is also a strong message from the whole globe, more or less. There are some not going down that road, and your neighbor is one of them. And that is, of course, very bad. And we are seeing that as well. But 141 members of the General Assembly condemned what Russia have been doing. And that is also a message to others that we are seeing, and we are also learning to act earlier to handle this kind of pattern that we have seen. And what we saw in Hong Kong has also learned us lessons. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christine. So important what you said. Definitely translation, please.
好，就第一个问题哈，其实，在第一个问题访台的目的来讲，其实在开场之时已经有提到了，但是要特别再讲一件事情，就是个人的因素啦，就是说，基本上在访台之前呢，也有受到中方的警告说不能够访台。那收到这样子的警告的时候呢，让我更觉得说，无论如何，就算疫情再怎么严重，或者是有什么其他的状况，都应该要坚持访问台湾。那除此之外呢，台湾其实跟瑞典有非常多领域的合作。这次访问台湾也有进一步去了解台湾在气候变迁的调节方面的努力啊，还有再生能源的开发方面的努力等等，这些都能够开创台瑞之间合作的契机。所以呢，在既有的合作基础之上，还可以再进一步合作。这样子的讯息跟相关的资讯，一定也会带回到瑞典的国会。就第二题来讲呢，那从乌克兰的情势当中，全世界包括中国都看到了，就是乌克兰他们自我防卫的意志非常坚强，再加上全世界许多国家对俄罗斯制裁力道之强大，像这样子的讯号，来自全世界的强大的讯号呢，都可以让中国等不同的大国跟独裁国家呢，知道说俄罗斯这样子的暴行不应该效法。我们也能够学到说，类似的情形发生的时候，必须要及早因应。事实上呢，在香港的反送中的情势发生的时候呢，其实我们就已经见过，也都已经汲取过教训了。
Okay, thank you very much. No, I know Parliamentarian Lars, he would like to respond, please.
Thank you. Very brief. 2 points. First question about the purpose of the visit. I would like to emphasize the importance of such visits, wherever they come from. I mean, this is basically a signal that Taiwan is not alone. Taiwan has many friends, a lot of friends in the democratic world, not only Sweden. Taiwan has friends in all parts of the world, and I think this kind of visits show just that Taiwan is gaining support while PRC is losing support internationally, and that speaks for itself. Secondly, I think when it comes to the question on what we can do to bolster ties with Taiwan from Swedish side, we have just passed a resolution in the Swedish Foreign Relations Committee where we have decided across the party lines to strengthen our presence here in Taipei. So we will pass a decision in the Riksdag, in the Parliament next week, I think it is, when we will, which means that we will open a House of Sweden in Taipei. I think that's a very specific, very concrete way of showing our relations are excellent and that we want to be here in order to learn, in order to support, and in order to develop our relations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lars. That was so important. And Zhao, translation. Thank you.
好，首先2个重点，就是说此行的目的就是要强调这次访台的重要性。这次访台是一个讯号，告诉台湾并不孤独，在整个民主世界当中，台湾有很多朋友，不只是瑞典。那再来就是说，台湾其实正当中华人民共和国正在流失他们所获得的支持的时候，其实台湾也正在逐步的增加台湾所获得的支持。再来就是台瑞邦谊、台瑞关系深化的部分呢，事实上在瑞典国会的外交委员会呢，我们已经通过了一个决议案，就是说无论是哪一个党派，我们都会一致的支持瑞典在台北的外交的作为。像下个礼拜在国会呢，我们就会去研议怎么样在台北设立所谓的瑞典之家。那透过这样子瑞典之家的设立呢，能够以实质的作为来彰显台瑞友谊的进一步深化，能够让瑞典的外交亲自在台湾，向台湾发出支持的讯号，同时也能够进一步在台湾我们亲自去发展台瑞关系。
Thank you. And next, Parliamentarian Marcus. Marcus would like to respond as well.
Thank you very much. And just like others have said, the purpose of this visit is to show support for Taiwan. And this support is, truly something that comes from a large spectrum of the Swedish political life from various political parties. I would like to raise another thing that we're currently working with, or I'm trying to propose a motion in the Council of Europe where we support a closer cooperation between the Council of Europe as an institution and the Taiwanese Parliament. Now, this is far from done, but we're working on it, and I'm quite sure and I'm optimistic that we will get a large support from members of different parliaments in Europe across different party lines as well. So just by saying this, I would like to say that due to trips like this, it gives us extra energy to keep on fighting. Thank you.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much, Marcus. A translation. Thank you.
这次访问的目的不外乎就是要表达对台湾的支持，而且呢，要告诉大家这份支持在瑞典国会政党的光谱当中是整个横跨过去的。那么我们在欧盟理事会呢，接下来即将会提出一个议案，就是说要进一步去加强欧洲理事会作为一个机构跟台湾的立法院进行合作。那当然，这样子的提案还在初步的阶段，还要提案才行。但是我有信心， 无论是在欧洲理事会的哪一个党派、哪一个国家，都能够坚定的支持像这样子的提案。那这一次访问台湾呢，在台湾能够深深感受到我们就是心中对台湾的支持的坚定，能够深化我们对台湾支持的坚定。
Thank you very much. And next we have Boriana. Thank you.
I just like to add very briefly one important thing to bolster the relationships between two countries is to make the ordinary Swedes and ordinary Taiwanese to meet each other. Charlie invited 23 million Taiwanese to taste his meatballs. I suggest that we should invite 10 million Swedes to visit Taiwan. We know that it's a really, really beautiful country. We had possibilities to visit Kavalan Distillery. I am sure that very many Swedes will love to do the same. Also, don't forget student exchange. I know that you're going to open a language school in Brussels. Why not open language school in Sweden? It's very important that not only politicians should have interactions with each other, but ordinary people, because presence of people from Sweden in Taiwan also sends strong signals. And when a lot of people from different European countries and the rest of democratic world is in Taiwan, it also sends signals. Thank you.
Very, very beautiful, it says. Thank you, Boriana. We need translation. Thank you, Jaha.
补充几点哦，就是刚刚魏莫斯议员他诚挚的邀请全体2300万台湾人都到他家去尝他们家家传的秘方瑞典肉丸哈。那除此之外，也希望说能够让全体1000万瑞典的人民能够来台湾来品尝台湾的美食。像此次访台，我们有机会去访问了噶玛兰金车的酒厂，那边的威士忌非常的好喝，也希望说1000万瑞典人都有这个机会去品尝。那除此之外，还有交换生的计划哈，因为我们知道说在布鲁塞尔那边即将有台湾的机构呢，在那边要成立华语学校。那既然如此，何不也在瑞典成立华语学校呢？所以我们也知道说，不只是我们加强了政界政治人物之间的互动，民间的互动其实也非常的重要，也能够送出非常强烈的台瑞友谊的讯号。所以呢，不只是我们瑞典，还有在欧洲的其他国家，甚至民主世界的其他国家，当大家都纷纷支持台湾，跟来到台湾的时候，这个讯号只会越来越强烈。
Thank you very much. I know Representative Alexander Hilsley would like to say a few words.
Thank you. A very short note, just real quick. Like Boriana said, we when it comes to education and in language especially, I think there is a lot of opportunity to develop our ties, definitely, and also when it comes to trade. But I was just thinking, because we met some students, Swedish students and Swedish people that live in Taiwan, and they all together said that if you once move here for studying, you never go back. So we need to find out a way so that we can be sure that they will come back to Sweden, because we need a workforce in our own country. So if we can handle that, we can definitely figure something out.
好了，补充一点，因为刚刚讲到教育，包括语言教育这一块哈，那这一块当然一定是能够加强台瑞的双边关系，也能够加强台瑞的贸易关系。但是我们也都知道，有许多侨居在台湾的瑞典人哦，无论是来这边譬如说他们来这边读书好了，他们常常会说在台湾住个几年就回不了瑞典了。那我们必须想办法让瑞典人都回得去，不然的话，瑞典的人的劳动力会一直往台湾外流。
Thank you so much, Alexander. I know now the Honourable Sophie would like to respond as well.
Thank you, Yuan. I would just quickly, because the purpose of this visit is actually, all my colleagues have said it already. It is to show support to Taiwan, and we want it to be absolutely no doubt whatsoever that we parliamentarians of the Swedish Parliament stand with Taiwan. And I also got a letter, of course, from the Chinese embassy on my work on human rights. And of course, it is to make us afraid, to not to come. So that's why I also wanted to come, of course. But it's as Boriana said, if we are making them upset, we are doing something right. So we are not afraid. We are here, and the thing is that we are many, many, many parliamentarians around the world that stand with Taiwan, and that it's very important to know. Thank you
so much. Was so touching. Yes, translation.
刚刚有许多的同事都已经表达了对台湾的支持，也都说是此行的目的。那事实上，必须要告诉大家，毫无疑问，瑞典的国会议员一致都是支持台湾的。那当然，我此行呢也有受到中国大使馆这边的恐吓跟威胁，叫我们不要来。但是，诚如刚刚团长所说的，就是只要让中共不高兴的事情，大概就是做对了啦。所以我们并不怕中共的威胁，要告诉大家，不只是瑞典，世界各国的许多的国会议员也都支持着台湾。
Thank you. It was so beautiful, so touching to hear in their remarks. And we only did the first round. We have 2 more to go. Okay, is that okay if we move on? 我们到下一轮好不好? If that's okay, no more questions on the ground, no more. Okay, so let's do the next category, which is about invasion of Russia to Ukraine. Heavy topic. Okay, impact of Russian-Ukraine war on Taiwan-Sweden relations, if there's any. And let me read the questions. Okay, we got from Yang Guang from Changlei. And he's asking, in the face of what's happening in Ukraine, is the European Union doing anything to pursue peace in Taiwan? Yang Guang 这个昌磊在问就是面对俄乌战争欧盟如何协助维持这个台海的和平 Also from Taiwan News, Kevin Chen, he's asking, do you foresee any major changes in Taiwan-Sweden ties following the Russian invasion of Ukraine? Taiwan News 在问在这个俄罗斯侵略乌克兰后有没有预见就是台湾跟瑞典的关系会不会因此产生这个变化 Also from AP American Press, from Johnson Lai, and he's asking, in the view of the conflict between Ukraine and Russia, what can Taiwan and Sweden do going forward in terms of cooperation and exchanges, a matter of national defense? 美联社问到，有鉴于俄罗斯跟乌克兰的两国战争情势，未来台湾跟瑞典是否针对国防军备方面有所合作交流？ We also received from Radio Taiwan International from Staff Butler Yang Guang Bei Dexun, and he's asking, has Russian invasion of Ukraine changed the way European politicians are thinking about engaging with Taiwan? And also from AP American Press, Tai Jin Wu, he's asking, please share about how Sweden and Taiwan could contribute to peace in Ukraine. Those are heavy topics about the war, and I would like to invite the parliamentarian to speak freely and to respond if they wish. Yes, Deputy Speaker.
Well, there are quite big questions raised in this area, and I think we are all in a situation where we have to rethink and rebalance our positions. And it's ongoing. It's ongoing in Sweden, and it's ongoing in our neighborhood, Sweden, Finland. And we have a lot of contacts. Of course, I myself was in Lithuania a couple of weeks ago for speaks with them. And it's ongoing, the dialogue, how to move ahead and what conclusions should be drawn. But I'm sure that we will see, because we haven't seen the end of the war yet. So there are really lessons to be learned and conclusions to be drawn. But we are not really in that position now to have any final stance. But we are working daily with this kind of issues. So I will go back home and directly into security discussions back home in Sweden on topics related to Ukraine and the Russian brutal aggression. So that is for all these comments. I think we have to work together, but I mean, your way of looking upon what's happening in your neighborhood is important also for us to pick up, because we have to draw conclusions also from that. We see China acting or reacting or whatever they are doing in different ways. And we are also, of course, closely following that because we know that they are tracking each other, even if they are not following each other really down the road, but much alike, Russia, China. So we have to rebalance and rethink and draw conclusions together later on. So dialogue is important. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. And so we need translation. Thank you.
刚刚的提问都是非常重大的议题。就现在的情势来讲，我们当务之急就是要去重新检讨我们的对外关系的平衡以及接下来的走向。不只是我们瑞典，我们周边的像是芬兰等国也都在这么做。几周之前呢，我也是跟立陶宛方面有联络跟相关的讨论。那如今战争还未结束，所以呢，很多结论还没有办法去下很多的结论哈。所以我们只能够滚动式的去检讨。回到瑞典之后呢，我一定也会持续的就乌克兰跟俄罗斯等情势进行更多的安全方面议题的讨论。那同时，台湾周边的情势的看法，我们也必须要纳入参考。尤其是像是中国他们在这个时间点的作为以及反应等等，因为我们知道中国虽然没有公开支持俄罗斯，但是中国跟俄罗斯多少他们理念是比较相近的。
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so I know next Lars, Representative Lars Pusi would like to respond. Thank you.
Thank you. When it comes to Ukraine and the Russian aggression, I'm half Estonian. My father came from Estonia, and I've been brought up with the knowing of what it's like to live next door to an aggressive neighbor. In which case Estonia certainly has experienced. So when Russia shows its ugly head once again, not standing up for Taiwan's right, as I said before, I can just emphasize what I said before, that we need, as free democratic countries, stand up together for each other, and being prepared to always show our support. And has the Russian aggression changed the need of that? Yes, most definitely. And I think that the more of us that do that, and also that some of my colleagues already have mentioned, traveling and meeting other peoples, knowing more cultures, knows more ways of life, just strengthens democratic nations, and so we should do that more. Thank you.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you so much for that. In translation, thank you.
在俄罗斯入侵乌克兰之际呢，那当然我也看到了很多的暴行，那包括我自己在内都有很深刻的感受，因为我自己本身爸爸是爱沙尼亚人，所以我在长大的期间呢，也都深深的感受到爱沙尼亚过去曾经有的历史，被俄罗斯入侵的历史。因此，我们知道在入侵者的当入侵者的邻居是什么样的感受。那现在俄罗斯又出现了，又发兵入侵了邻国了。这个时候呢，不支持台湾真的就不对，因为刚刚在开场致辞的时候有讲过，就是在这个时间点。民主国家更需要互相支持跟团结，所以的确，乌克兰的侵略，乌克兰受到侵略这件事情，的确也改变了对台湾支持力道的需求。所以这个时候呢，我们更要进一步到处去旅行，到处增广见闻，去接触不同民主国家的人事物，多了解一些其他的民主国家，这对我们自己本身所珍视捍卫的民主绝对有帮助。
Thank you. I know Lars also would like to respond. Yes.
Thank you, Joanne. I think it's important to say that February 24th, change the security order globally, not only in Europe. It's a major event. It's a terrible war. It's an aggression that is appalling to see, the suffering of the people. And of course, this affects not only us as neighboring countries to Russia, it affects the world, including Taiwan. So I think that this is important to see when you should evaluate the consequences of this and jump into conclusions. One of the questions put in the in advance is about the do you foresee any major changes in Taiwan-Sweden ties following the Russian invasion of Ukraine? I would say there is a need for changes in relations, a need for deeper relations between democracies, between countries standing up for human rights, for freedom. So we need to further develop our relations. They are already strong and good, but we need to come together, stand up for what's right, stand up against these authoritarian regimes that are on the move. We have seen it earlier, we see it now. So there is definitely a need for stronger ties following the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Thank you.
So important what Lars just said. We need translation. Thank you.
2月24号，俄罗斯入侵乌克兰的这一天呢，全球的安全秩序都改变了，我们也看到了惨不忍睹的战争的状况。所以在这个时候呢，瑞典作为俄罗斯的邻国，更应该要去支持台湾。那这当然刚刚也有提问说，台湾跟瑞典在俄罗斯入侵乌克兰的期间，会不会因此有关系上的改变？那当然我们知道说，现在正逢威权主义正在扩张的这个情形，那这个时候呢，民主国家之间彼此要更加的团结，去共同捍卫民主跟人权。所以确实，瑞典跟台湾绝对有这个必要去进一步深化双边的关系。
Thank you very much. I know EMP Charlie would like to respond.
Yes, the Russian invasion of Ukraine is changing the way European politicians think about engaging with Taiwan in real time. A big part of the reason for that is, of course, the Sino-Russian cooperation, which has the ultimate goal to destroy the security order as we know it. And we are finally starting to understand the implications of the Chinese-Russian cooperation. I think apart from military material cooperation, I think we also need human cooperation on the military side. I know that Taiwan is working on the issue of conscription, for instance, and Sweden has reintroduced conscription. Finland never ended it and has, for being such a small country, great defense capabilities. Why not learn from best practice here, both in terms of military competence, but also to look at how we in Sweden, for instance, have been able to fight penalism within the army, and how Finland is making sure that their conscripts are not mowing the lawns of generals, but actually learning how to fight. Those things I think we can cooperate on. There's also a question, how could Sweden and Taiwan contribute to peace in Ukraine? Well, I would like to rephrase that question. How could Sweden and Taiwan contribute to Ukraine victory? Because the last thing we should do is to push Zelensky to make concessions to Russia. We should make an arrangement for those MiG fighters, I think. And we should also look at our own responsibility for actually funding the Russian war machine by buying gas and oil. That must stop. It must stop now. If we do that, we will hugely contribute to Ukraine actually winning this war.
Excellent. That's an excellent point. And we definitely translation. Thank you.
俄罗斯入侵乌克兰的确改变了许多欧洲政治人物改变对台湾互动的看法。那中俄合作其实的确也是一个重大要素，因为中国跟俄罗斯致力于合作，要去颠覆现有的国际秩序。我们也都很清楚地了解到，中俄合作影响力甚巨。那在军事方面呢，我们在针对乌克兰，除了有比如军事方面的一些军武的供应或者是支援之外呢，事实上我们人力也要进一步支援的。那像是说以台湾来讲，台湾我知道现在随着乌克兰情势的变化，正在检讨兵役制度。那事实上，瑞典也已经恢复了征兵制，而隔壁的芬兰呢，从来都没有废除过征兵制。他们是国家虽然小，可是军事实力非常的强。他们都确保说他们的义务士兵不只是会割草，甚至呢也是很致力于去训练他们的体能战技或者是其他各方面的战技等等。军事实力真的是防卫能力都非常的好，是我们可以借鉴的对象。刚刚有一个问题是说，台湾跟瑞典要怎么样做才能够进一步贡献到乌克兰的和平？事实上，我觉得这个问题应该是要如何贡献给，使得乌克兰能够打赢这场战争。因为所谓的和平，不应该是让乌克兰总统泽伦斯基去俯首称臣，向乌克兰投降，去跟乌克兰谈判。事实上，我们应该要去进一步支援更多的乌克兰的英勇的战士，甚至要停止去购买俄罗斯的石油跟天然气，因为这些购买的资金都在助长着俄军。所以呢，我相信随着我们停止购买俄罗斯的天然气跟石油，一定能够进一步帮助乌克兰打赢这场仗。
Thank you. I know also Parliamentarian Soldier would like to respond.
Thank you. Just a short comment about how the war in Ukraine can change the way European politicians are thinking about engaging with Taiwan, as a question was here. First, I think, like Charlie Weimers said earlier, I want to point at that this war was a wake-up call for most Europeans who have seen war in decades on other continents, but not in Europe. And unfortunately, easily forgot what happened in Europe in the last century. So this was a wake-up call, and I think it's easier now for the politicians to spend more money on defense, which was harder before because most Europeans, they were living in a, time of peace and such. And now I think they are more pro to spend more on defense. And this will lead to that United States can somehow withdraw from Europe because most European countries, they had depended on safety of the United States. So this can change so that United States can focus more on Indo-Pacific. And that would also improve the security here. And second, I think that the war in Ukraine also change people's minds regarding how easy it is for an authoritarian country to attack a small democratic country. And if you show that there are very similarities between Russia and Ukraine and China and Taiwan, I think it's also easier to get people to engage for Taiwan and act more proactively.
Right. So true what Bjorn said. Our translation, thank you. What would you translation? Then we'll come back to you.
的确，刚刚有讲到说，乌克兰的情势使得欧洲的许多的政治人物改变了对台湾互动的看法。那事实上，乌克兰被入侵这件事情，等于是欧洲的一个敲响的醒钟啊，让大家都清醒了。因为呢，其实最近有许多的战争，其实都发生在许多其他的大陆上面，所以欧洲人觉得就不痛不痒，因此久了就忘了欧洲上个世纪所经历过的一切。那 现在又经历到战争的时候呢，那当然很多欧洲国家也都更有意愿去增加防卫的预算，因为其实和平久了，要增加防卫预算其实是更加的困难。但是，一旦增加防卫预算之后，欧洲的国的防卫就更加的自主，使得我们欧洲呢更不用太依赖美国，这样子美国也就更能够把他们的专注点放在印太地区，这对台湾也有很大的帮助。那么，的确，乌克兰的情势也使得许多的人们改变了看法，知道说独裁政权是真的很轻易的就能够去入侵其他国家的。再加上大家意识到，俄罗斯至于乌克兰以及中国至于台湾相似点太多，因此更让人明白跟台湾互动的重要性，对台湾的互动也就更加的积极。
Thank you.
But I just want to say that I think we have not total agreement here on this issue, because as we see it, and as most of us see it, I'm sure we are going to be very cautious, making sure that the links, the transatlantic links between Europe and US, Canada, is very close, because that is what has been working now. And we will not leave that, because that is what Russia is asking for, asking US to leave Europe. And we are not going down that line, as I assume most of our political parties are looking for. And I'm sure that also the Baltic states and many in the eastern part are very, very cautious about this. So we must make it possible to act on two theaters. And the visions that is discussed in EU, but also in NATO, is of course important in that sense. Thank you.
Translation.
讲到欧洲的防卫自主，这边我们其实也是非常的小心谨慎。因为我们希望说能够持续的保持，比如说欧洲以及跟大西洋对岸的美国以及加拿大能够保持紧密的关系、紧密的连结。因为其实俄罗斯他们最想要看到的事情就是美国全面撤出欧洲，所以在就是同时保持跟跨大西洋连线，但是同时又促进欧洲防卫自主的时候呢，我们真的要尤其小心谨慎，尤其是我们比较靠中欧跟东欧这个地区的国家，尤其的谨慎。而且当我们在讨论这个议题的时候，这个跨大西洋连结的时候，我们的脉络不只是讲到欧盟，还讲到了北约。
Okay, thank you. Okay, I was reminded they have a very tight schedule, so we need to wrap up this, but I don't want to leave without leaving the last category, which is the most important, okay? So if there's no further question, may I move to next category about China, which I think is important. Okay, huge category about China. I'll read the questions from Taiwan News. Kevin is asking, do you think the European Union would take a strong stance against China in the event of a cross-strait conflict, just as it is currently taken against Russia? 就是如果它也发生冲突的话，欧盟有没有要对于中国采取更强硬的这个立场？另外，我们收到自由时报一轩在问，请问中国大使馆抗议访台来台议员们有没有因此受到威胁？对抗议函有何想法？And Liberty Times is asking the Chinese embassy, which you already responded as well. The Chinese embassy in Sweden has protested your visit to Taiwan. Have any of you received threats? What is your opinion about this letter of protest China submitted? Were you afraid? Okay, and also we received from Radio Taiwan International, Natalie Zhou, Yang Guang, Rui Juan is asking, how is Chinese coercion of Lithuania affecting Sweden and the EU policy towards Taiwan and China? 中国对于立陶宛的打压有没有改变？瑞典以及欧盟对于这个相关的对中国相关的这个政策，以及对于台湾相关的政策。We also have received from NTD Television, Newtown Dynasty Television, question from Yanling. Yanling is asking, 欧洲议会2018年通过中欧关系决议，更强调以人权法治为核心，请教一，对于中国贸易以及中国人权的情况，欧洲的情势怎么样对待两者之间的关系？二，欧洲的这个投资协定目前被搁置，欧洲有没有机会优先处理延宕6年的一个台欧贸易协定 Anti-Dynasty Television asking, in the 2018 resolution adopted in the State of EU-China relations, the European Parliament emphasized that human rights and the rule of law would be at the core of handling such relations. In your opinion, how should the European Union handle balance between trade with China and the human rights? Also, with the European and China investment agreement currently suspended, does the European Union have now an opportunity to prioritize talks on a Taiwan-EU investment agreement that has been put on hold for the past 6 years? Also from Epoch Time, received from Cindy 大纪元心仪提问：欧洲理事会2014年推出反对人体器官贩卖公约，欧洲议会也曾经通过决议谴责中共活体摘取良心犯相关的器官，譬如说对于法轮功、维吾尔族、藏族人士的这个群体的这个器官移植的问题，请问从欧洲的角度，怎么样能够有效的帮助这些制止这些问题发生？譬如说，是不是推动成员国之间的相关的立法 ？Epoch Times asking, 2014, the Council of Europe establishes Convention against Trafficking on Human Organs, and the European Parliament has also passed a resolution condemning the CCP's harvesting of organs from prisoners of conscience, such as members of Falun Gong, the Uyghurs, and Tibetan people. How can the European Union effectively help in terms of putting a stop on this harvesting of organs issue? Could European member states be encouraged to formulate such legislation, for example? Also, we received from Norway News, Geir Forland is asking, the Norwegian government has made an agreement with CCP in Beijing that Taiwan is part of China, just as Norway is part of Europe. Taiwan has never been a part of the CCP's territory. From 1814 to 1905, Norway has ruled by the King of Sweden. The Norwegian government says that according to international law, China has the right to occupy Taiwan. So if that's true, it means that stopping the democratization of a free country. The CCP has never controlled Taiwan as the Swedish king controlled Norway. Could the Swedish king, together with the European Union, therefore use the same international law to claim and take away Norway back and be part of the European Union? Okay, a lot of questions. I will invite the parliamentarians, honorable, to speak. Yes, thank you, Charlie.
First of all, I think there is no disagreement on the importance of the transatlantic link in this gathering. We are very much in favor of that. But what I think my colleague Mr. Söder meant was that finally Europe is about to stop free riding on the United States defense. We are going to take our responsibility as part of the transatlantic link. I also would like to answer the first question here. I do think that the EU would take a strong stance against China in the event of a cross-strait conflict, period. Chinese coercion of Lithuania has woken up a lot of Europeans, and personally I'm advocating for a NATO for trade in order to protect small states such as Lithuania or Sweden in the event of Chinese or other coercion, so that we independently can shape our foreign policy. Continuing on trade, I think we have a common challenge here, Taiwan and Europe, and that is supply chain resilience. We will have to work on that. That should be one of our biggest lessons of the events in Ukraine, that if we ever have to be tough with Beijing, we can also afford to be tough and still put food on the table at home. So let us work together on that. Big endeavor, very important.
Very well, thank you, Charlie. We need translation, thank you.
刚刚讲到的跨大西洋的议题那刚刚副议长有提到，那事实上我们无论如何都是很支持欧洲保持跨大西洋跟美国、加拿大的连结，只是说我们现在能够进一步的希望说能够有多一点自主权，就是我们不需要对美国言听计从。 那在面对中国的议题上面呢，当然如果中国在整个台海地区如果有任何比较负面的作为的话，那欧洲一定会全面的谴责，全面的谴责北京的。那事实上，北京对立陶宛的作为，基本上也敲醒了许多欧洲的政治人物。那有鉴于立陶宛的情势，我们知道说我们必须要强化我们自己的相关的外交跟经济的能力。所以当中国要对我们进行威胁，像我们这些欧洲小国，诸如立陶宛、瑞典等小国，面对中国的威胁的时候，我们仍然能够坚守自己的外交政策。好，那在贸易方面呢，其实无论是台湾跟欧洲，我们都意识到一件事情，就是供应链的韧性真的太重要了，所以我们一定要进一步的合作，去强化供应链的韧性。因为在乌克兰的情势到，我们也意识到了，如果哪一天我们今天要起身对抗北京的话，或者是要跟北京有摩擦的话，我们起码背后必须要有能力能够兼顾我们的经济。
Thank you very much. I know Parliamentarian Lars would like to also get. Yes.
Thank you so much. When it comes to Sweden-China relations, I would say that human rights and the rule of law, respect for human dignity, must be at the heart of these relations. We have seen over time that what we call a value-based foreign policy is not always easy to practice. But when it comes to one of the worst dictatorships in the world, we need to have value-based foreign policy. We need to support all these groups, all these people fighting for freedom, fighting for respect for human rights. We have seen in China over time how the situation when it comes to human rights is deteriorating. And from our party, the Christian Democrats in Sweden, we have raised the situation for the Uyghurs. And I think it's really important always when we speak about China to speak about this kind of atrocities, this kind of genocide, which it is. And we need to say that. So when it comes to the specific question about let me see, do you think EU would take a strong stance against China in the event of a cross-strait conflict? Yes, I do. And I really would emphasize that if Europe won't be able to do that, won't be able to take a strong stance, strong sanctions, whatever it takes to support Taiwan, I would say that would be the end of European foreign policy. And I don't think we will see that. I think that the value-based foreign policy will prevail, and the support for both Taiwan and for Ukraine is solid within the European Union. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable. That's so important. Translation, Jaha. Thank you.
讲到瑞中关系事实上我们跟中国保持的关系的，我们的核心呢一直都是在讲人权、法治跟尊严的。我们也都知道说，要长期维持价值基础的外交政策，并不是这么的顺利跟容易那但是当我们在面对威权国家的时候，就更应该要坚持我们以价值为基础的外交政策，进一步去支持那些在争取自己自由跟权利的族群们。那同时，我们一再的见到中国人权的恶化，所以当我们谈到中国的时候，整个脉络一定必须要谈到中国种种的暴行以及种族灭绝。那在讲到说，如果中国在台海地区对台湾有任何不利的行动的时候，的确，欧洲一定会采取强硬的态度，因为如果欧洲做不到对中强硬的态度的话，没有去透过制裁中国来支持台湾的话，那欧洲的外交也算是已经来到了末日，因为 我们必须要坚持以价值为基础的外交政策。但我也相信说，以价值为基础的外交政策终究会胜利，而且我们将会持续展现我们对台湾以及对乌克兰的支持。
Thank you. I would like to give the floor to Marcus.
Thank you very much. I'm going to try to be brief due to the lack of time, but I do agree with the previous speakers regarding the EU support for Taiwan in the case of a Chinese aggression. I'm quite sure that the European Union will stand behind Taiwan. And just by this delegation, we consist of 4 different political parties, and we're all friends of Taiwan. When it comes to the question from Epoch Times, the human organ trafficking, this is actually an issue that I will be debating with our foreign minister on Tuesday. It's a very current issue, I would say, and I hope that all peoples in free nations speak up about human rights abuses such as this one, but also other human rights abuses, because in our democracies, we need to speak up for those who doesn't live in a democracy. We need to stand side by side in all these issues, and I'm sure that we could make countries in Europe and in other parts of the world try to impose legislation against these abuses. Thank you.
Very well said. Thank you. Translation for that.
我同意先前许多同事们谈到对于欧盟在中国侵犯的时候挺台的这样子的意见。我也相信这种情况之下，欧盟绝对会支持台湾。这次瑞典访问台湾，我们的访问团有4个政党，但是我们全都是台湾的朋友。刚刚大纪元有提到器官贩运的相关问题，那我相信在这个议题之下，所有的自由国家应该要一致谴责器官贩运，除此之外也要一起谴责其他中国对于人权的所有侵犯的行为，因为在所有跟普世价值跟人权相关的议题，我相信所有的民主国家都必须要站在一起。那我也相信在欧洲的国家呢，也会继续接下来一定会再出台许多其他相关的立法来共同对抗器官的贩运。
Thank you, Mer. I know Representative Lars. Yes, you would like to also.
Thank you. I'd like to talk about the question whether Sweden can lay claims on Norway. And since it's a Norwegian journalist asking, the short answer is yes. To all you others, however, no, never. Just as little as Russia can have claims on Ukraine, or Estonia for that matter, or Sweden have claims on Estonia, or Norway, or Finland, and whatever. No, that's not the way it works.
Yeah, translation, please.
好的，
Thank you.
如果要基于历史因素就宣称主权的话，那的确，瑞典的确可以宣称挪威是瑞典的一部分，但是事实上我们不会这么做，因为这么做的话，那不就跟俄罗斯宣称乌克兰的主权，然后入侵乌克兰一样吗？那如果哪一天俄罗斯入侵爱沙尼亚，其实也是相同的道理。所以，对，基于历史因素，爱沙尼亚、挪威跟芬兰都曾经是瑞典的一部分，我们都可以去宣称主权，但是不应该这么做。
Thank you very much. I think we hosted press conference 100 minutes already, and then they have already their very tight itinerary. I was remind, and just want to make sure. Any other questions? I'm left now. Okay, so from Liberty Time. Last questions. Really, we are running out of time. Yeah, Liberty. Emily.
不好意思，刚刚有提到那个瑞典之家 House of Sweden 的设立是说下礼拜会有一个提案，那我想要问说和现况会有什么不同，然后这个和瑞典政府的一中政策会不会有冲突？
Okay, we need translation for that. Thank you.
Right, you mentioned in the remarks, the House of Sweden was mentioned, and which will be proposed next week. I would like to ask if that has any differences in practice with the current practice, and also I would also like to ask if this practice would violate the One China principle.
Madam Deputy Speaker. Yes.
Yes, thank you. It will be debated not the next week, but the week afterward, and decided as well. And that is a proposal to the government to decide, of course. But it will be a majority. And I am one of the initiators of this issue. And House of Sweden, for me, and I think for the majority in the committee, meaning that we have to scale up. And it's not only business. We shall deal with other questions in our relations, and that should be shown by renaming our representatives to House of Sweden. But the final say is, of course, for the government, but we will push.
Thank you very much, ma'am. We allow a translation for that, and then we'll go back to Lars. Yes? Yes.
瑞典之家的提案的话，不是下周就是下下周啦，但是主要是要向政府提案，只是说在我们的委员会当中已经获得多数委员的支持，那我本身也是这样个议案的发起人之一。瑞典之家的主要用意就是要扩大在台湾的外交作为，使得我们不只是就经贸关系去进行我们的外交经营，因此我们决定要把我们在台北的代表处予以更名。当然，要不要改名字成为瑞典之家，这最终的决定权还在政府手上，只是我们作为国会议员会敦促政府。
Thank you. I know Parliamentarian Lars, yeah, you would like to say?
Very brief. I just want to underline the importance of this House of Sweden, because the presence, as I said before, the presence here is really important in order to keep up the relations. And there has to be also a political content in the activities within this House of Sweden. It's not only a business organization or business house, so to speak. It has to be also to have a political content in itself. And finally, it's important to say that relations between Taiwan and Sweden is a matter of for Taiwan and Sweden, not for anyone else. No other powers has to do with the relations, how we organize our relations between our free countries.
Thank you very much, Lars. We need translation for that, and then we go to Marcus.
这边要特别强调，瑞典之家就是要强化我们在台湾的种种的工作，来进一步深化台瑞关系，使得我们瑞典在台湾的代表处不只是一个经贸办事处而已，而是一个政治工作的中心。必须要强调，台瑞双边关系是台湾跟瑞典双边的事情，其他的外面的国家不容置喙。
But I just want to say, we are not seeing China's interpretation. We are not using the name One China principle. That is for China. We are talking about One China policy in our interpretation. We know that China is interpreting everything in the way they want. But we have also the right to interpret what One China policy means.
这边要特别强调，瑞典作为一个主权国家，自己有权利去解读一中的原则是什么。当然，我们知道中国他们会自己去解读，但是就我们的观点来看，瑞典之家的成立并没有违反一中原则。
Okay, I have then Marcus. I have Marcus, and then I have Anne, and we wrap up the conference. Yes, Marcus.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would just like to say that I concur with what Lars just said regarding the House of Sweden and everything, and how we deal with that issue. I belong to the Sweden Democrats along with 3 other members of this delegation. We've also proposed this House of Sweden, so, just like Kirsten Lundgren. But we've also a specific motion, so I only speak for our political party right now, where our first issue is to declare that Taiwan should be viewed as a country, independent country, instead of a province. That's our first topic in this motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marcus. Translation, please. Thanks.
非常同意刚刚其他同事们特别就瑞典之家所发表的看法。那这边我仅代表瑞典民主党来，以及这个议案的提案人之一呢，来发表一下我们党的看法。我们党其实在这个议案当中要提出的重点就是说，透过瑞典之家的设立，要重新把台湾视为一个主权独立的国家，而不是一个省份。
Thank you. I have last speaker for Anne-Sophie, please.
Thank you so much. I just need quickly about the organ harvesting in China. I read the report, the China Tribunal in London, and it was a horrific report. So I really need us to call on both the EU and the US to work together to stop these horrific crimes that are really, they are so horrific. And to illegally harvest organs from prisoners of conscience, it's just so brutal, and we need to stop it, and we need to stop it right now. Thank you.
Yes, very well said. Translation. Thank you.
好，之前在伦敦的那次的审理案件呢，基本上也是轰动全世界哦，就是说中国非法的器官强摘的这样子的情形。事实上，我们知道说，把良心犯的器官强制摘走这件事情真的是很残酷，也非常的不人道。我们整个欧盟应该团结起来，共同去制止这样子的暴行。
Thank you very much. So we hosted the press guard nearly 2 hours, and I can't be more grateful. We heard each one of them speaking from their heart, and also deeply appreciated because they all came to Taiwan, not only under the time of pandemic, but also under threats from China, but still they're here, determined, they spoke from their heart and shared the idea. I'm so moved. And so if you can please join me, in round of applause, thanking each one of them for being here in Taiwan. Hopefully to see you next time. Thank you. Thank you very much. Also to each one of you, 感谢各位在这边参加今天的记者会，谢谢大家，谢谢。